Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. Very glad you're with us today. It's October 5th, first Tuesday in October. Very glad you're with us this afternoon. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, we ask that you please just open up the Zoom chat window, open up the chat box, and you can enter any questions you have right there. For those people watching on Facebook right now, you're welcome to enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed and will be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. It was a website to help those who were unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those who are outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area in their job search. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and this is a great way to practice your interviewing skills. If you'd like to have more details and get a free practice interview, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to give you some information. Well, we've got four outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate once a month. Locke Alderson and Ruth Lipsky are both career coaches and career consultants. Terry Sullivan, who runs BuzzPro, a digital sales and marketing firm, and Kurt VandeMotter, who's a retained executive search consultant. And so today, Kurt is with us. He works at Linked Executive Search, and he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn from a recruiter's standpoint. So Kurt, thank you very much for being with us, and good to see you today.
Great, thank you. Okay, good, everybody can see me. I didn't shave this morning, Jeff. I've been running since 6:30, so I appreciate everybody's patience. I tell everybody at the beginning of this meeting, and we've got, I don't know how many participants on now, but there'll be more joining us. That this meeting is really all about you and your questions. It's not about me. So if you've got questions, you've got something that you've been, dying to ask a recruiter, or you've been through an interview recently and you've got a question, make sure you throw that to Jeff as soon as you can, and I'll make sure I answer every and each one of those questions carefully, because I want you to feel confident about any voids that you might have in your search. So I'm gonna go into LinkedIn Recruiter, and I'm gonna launch that in a minute, Jeff. I'll share my site, but I think that it's always beneficial to take a few minutes, because there's always questions that people have about what is a recruiter, what kinds of recruiters are there, and a lot of questions around that. And I think I can make it really simple, and I think it's really important that we discuss that, because if you understand everybody's roles and responsibilities, you'll be able to communicate more effectively with these folks. So to start off, everyone, there's really, I say there's three kinds of recruiters, okay? And I'm not talking about good, bad, and ugly. I'm talking about there's three categories of recruiters. There are recruiters that are internal recruiters. These are recruiters that work for large organizations. So you'll find them in your much larger companies, even in mid-size, a $50 million company, $100 million company. You'll have maybe an HR executive, and they may have a recruiter. Recruiters' roles have changed over the last couple of years with COVID, just as everything else has. And there has been a reduction in workforce in that space, but I don't know that it's that dramatic. I don't see that many recruiters looking for new opportunities. But the bottom line is there's internal recruiters, they work for companies. And these folks, the thing to know about these folks is that each one of them may have anywhere from 25 to 50 recs open. Okay, if they're working for AT&T or T-Mobile or Google, or pick any one of your big companies out there, American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, any one of those recruiters, they've got a number of job recs that they're trying to fill. And so they're working with hiring managers. But the key to know about these folks is that they're generally going to be looking for only that needle in the haystack. Okay. They're not going to look very far outside the box. They all have what we call these applicant tracking systems, and that's how you get to them generally, as you apply for a job and it ends up on their desk. Sometimes you may know of somebody that works for a company and they'll send your resume to an internal recruiter. But the bottom line is most of the time you're going to come in through their applicant tracking system. And by that time, you will have been sorted out for all the things that you don't want to know that you're being sorted out for. And that is, number of years of experience, to whether you're a male, a female, or any number of other things that they may be looking for in the specific role or responsibilities. So very difficult group to communicate with. If you found an opportunity in one of these companies, I highly encourage you to try to get to hiring managers and not go through internal recruiters. They're really there to say no. And that's what makes them more difficult to work with. And they say no because you don't fill 100% of the qualifications. You've done everything that they want to, but you don't have a college degree. Or you've got a college degree, but you don't have a master's. So they're very narrow in their scope as far as their willingness to consider and look outside the box. When you move outside of an organization, this is when a company has made a decision that they don't either have the team to go do the recruiting, they don't have the experience, they don't have the bandwidth to do it, they've never done it before. So they need to hire an outside search consultant. And so when they go outside into the landscape, they have the ability to then hire or engage with two types of recruiters. They can engage with a contingent recruiter. I'll tell you a little bit about them, or a retained recruiter. I got a call yesterday. And I don't say this out of any other space than just to let you know a little bit more about me and my credibility in the market. I'm on Forbes magazine as the 10th best executive retained search firm in the United States and #1 in Texas. And I can't really tell you how I got there, but it is quite an honor. And it's an honor because from a business development perspective, it really makes the phone ring in the sense of companies do a lot of research when they're looking to fill a job and they're looking for a retained search executive. They go to Forbes as a resource. So as an example, I got a call yesterday from a company, great tool to talk about this. It's a company in California. They're looking for a vice president of marketing. They're in the fintech world. They've been in business for a couple of years. They're owned by a private equity. But the person that called me, it was very clear that they had a very narrow set of parameters. They will not pay a retainer. They are willing to pay 20% of base. They want 9 months or 6 months of guarantees, so that if you fill the job and they decide they don't like the candidate, they fire them, you got to refill it in 6 months and no cost. And net 30 days. Okay. So a lot more information than you wanted, but what that defines is a contingent recruiter. Okay. And so when I got done with talking to this person for about 30 minutes, I said, I'd really love to help you, but I'm a retained search executive. And so I take a retainer up front. I ask for exclusivity. And I do offer a guarantee for my candidates, so that if you hire a candidate for me, I do offer the ability for you to either let that candidate go, or if the candidate leaves on their own, which generally I don't think it's happened once and maybe twice in 15 years, then I refill that job at no fee. So I do offer some of the same things, but contingent recruiters, a company can hire 4 or 5 contingent recruiters, and they're all working on the same job, but nobody gets paid until that candidate is hired. And then that company that placed that candidate gets the fee. And it's generally between 20 and 25% of your first year salary. Retained search executives, the category I'm in, I ask for a retainer up front. That can be anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. And then I take a percentage of the first year salary, and I can negotiate other incentives, including bonuses or stock options, depending on the opportunity. So I'm exclusive. I'm the only one working on the opportunity. If the company finds a candidate that they really like, then they send that candidate through me, and I treat that candidate just as if I was as if I had found the candidate myself. Okay, so that's the difference between contingent, retained, and then internal recruiters. It's important for you to know the difference, because when you're talking to a recruiter, a retained recruiter may have a little bit more passion for learning about where you're at, where you're going, what you're doing, and help you build a bridge potentially to this new opportunity if they see that the foundation of your background is very strong. So many times I don't throw the baby away with the bathwater in the sense of dismissing a candidate. So I've really dug around to understand what their skills are and where their value might be with an organization. I'm working on a senior manager of infrastructure technology for a family, multi-billion-dollar family office. And I have a candidate that I talked to that I think has about 80% of what this company is looking for. But I'm not ready, but he's well below the salary of what this organization is willing to pay. I wouldn't present him as a high-end candidate, but I'm not ready to dismiss him because of his lower salary or because he's missing a couple of small things. That's not my decision. That's the company's decision. So I have a tendency to push the envelope a little bit more with my clients, whereas a contingent recruiter, all they're doing is gathering resumes and sending them into the company, because they're in a time warp against time, in sense of there may be other contingent recruiters that are also working on that search, and so they want to get those resumes into that company as quickly as possible, in case they're selected, that they have the name instead of maybe one of their competitors. So as a candidate, how do you communicate with these folks? Internal recruiters, just be a little bit more cautious that they've got a lot on their plate. They're juggling a lot of different things. And unless you're like 95% of what they're looking for, they may push you away a little bit quicker than an outside recruiter. Contingent recruiters, it's okay to ask them. When you're talking to contingent recruiters, I encourage you just to make sure that you suggest that they not use your resume to solicit business. Many times contingent recruiters will take a resume and they'll take your name off of it and they'll take some other details off of it, but they'll send a note out to 50 companies that they're trying to do business with, and they'll solicit you as, this is a kind of candidate that I'm working for. If you would like to see this or candidates like this, then we should engage in a conversation. I don't do that, and not all contingent recruiters do that, but more often on the contingent side. In a retained search, you know that you're working with a guy or a gal that's exclusive. There's not another recruiter that's working on it. Generally higher end jobs, but not always. And that they're going to be more likely to listen to where you're at, where you want to go, and why you feel like this could be a good fit if you found the opportunity and they didn't find you. Okay.
Well, Kurt, I got a question for you. So when a recruiter calls you up, what questions should you ask? Do you actually just come out and say, are you retained? I mean, what kind of recruiter are you?
Yeah, can you give me an idea? What kind of, are you employed by the company, or are you an external recruiter? Oh, I'm an external recruiter. Oh, that's great. what kind of recruiter are you? Are you a contingent or are you a retained search executive, a search person? That right there just puts the recruiter not on task, but demonstrates that you're pretty knowledgeable about the search industry.
Great, thanks.
Yep. So those are the kinds of recruiters. Those are the ways you communicate with recruiters. But at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is, Jeff, is that we all use the same tools. Okay. And that's the most important piece of what we're going to talk about today. So when it comes down to how do you hire somebody and where do you go, we all use most of the same tools. Okay. Now, there are all kinds of new social media hooks and triggers and tools that companies use depending on what they're hiring for. But in this particular case for our discussion today, we don't have to assume that we're hiring a CEO or a CFO or a CMO, because that may be out of range for some of the folks that are on the call. But let's go to a mid-level job, and maybe it's a director of marketing or a director of sales, or it's a director of finance. In the organizations that are hiring multiple people, so they're hiring customer service reps, they're hiring nurses, they're hiring those positions that are considered higher turnover, and that there are a lot of people in the organization that do those roles. Then there is all kinds of technology out there that companies are using in order for them to build their own database and their own talent pipeline, you might say. Okay, so I don't use those kinds of tools, because when a retained search executive gets hired to fill a role, one of the things that we typically tell our clients is that we don't post and pray. Okay, we don't post the job on multiple sites with ZipRecruiter and Craigslist and all the other job sites that are out there. We don't post that job and pray that we find the right candidate. Now, what I do sometimes as a recruiter is I will use it as a way to build my network. And so I might post an opportunity that's a lot more vague than what I'm actually looking for, in hopes that I can open up the door and start communications with people that may be interested in the role, but they may also have a very large talent pipeline of people that they've worked with and people that they know also. So my interaction with candidates is from a retained search executive perspective. I'm trying to cast as big a net as I can. But I'm not on an emergency. I've got a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks before I have to start presenting candidates. So instead of just casting a net and starting to send resumes to a client of mine, and that would be a contingent recruiter, I'm going to take a lot more time to engage in conversation to learn about what the candidate's doing. Why is this a good time for you to consider a new opportunity? What kind of salary is your target? What are the things that motivate you in your search? What environments do you work best in? Are you excited about going to an office now, or do you want to continue to work from home? These are all the kinds of questions that give me pretty quick insight as I hear a candidate talk about those kinds of things. I have the ability to hear how they communicate and what their priorities are and so forth. So we all cast a big net. Contingent recruiters have a tendency to send resumes in pretty quickly. They don't take a lot of notes. They're not going to spend a lot of time to get to know you. Your resume's got to be pretty spot on. So I encourage you to, with a contingent recruiters, before you give a recruiter permission to send your resume to a company, make sure you've got a very good understanding of the job. You've had a discussion with the recruiter, and you know what the priorities are in the job. You know what the responsibilities are. You've gotten a copy of the job brief. And lastly, you've been given an opportunity to go and make any changes to your resume to reflect the importance of some of these parts of that role. You don't want a contingent recruiter forwarding a resume that doesn't completely reflect what you can do and how you can help that organization. Because in my case, I can take a resume and provide the notes and the discussion to the hiring manager. That you don't have to rewrite your resume, because I can fill in the gaps with communication, words, and documentation that would illustrate why you would be a great fit for this organization if you're a candidate I'm presenting. But in a contingent setting, that recruiter may not have the opportunity to have the dialogue. And the only thing that the company is looking at the hiring manager is looking at is that resume. And if it doesn't reflect a real close replication of what they're looking for, you might be off mark a little bit. So make sure you take those steps and don't just be panic and hit send, boom, I applied for that job. Take some intention and make sure you make changes to that resume to reflect who you really are for that specific role. Okay. Any other questions, Jeff? And then
Dion asked a question. Is it okay to ask the recruiter what happened to the last person who held this job?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the best questions out there. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's an amazing question to ask, because, and as early as you can get that, it's helpful for you to be able to identify where you fit in the puzzle. Okay. So I think that's a really, really important question. I was going back and forth here, Jeff, so I've got it queued up, but that's a really important question to ask. And wherever you can get that information, if you can get that information prior to talking to the recruiter, that's even better. But it is really important to understand, was he released for performance? Did he get promoted? Did he leave it on his own intuition? Anything that you can get is super, super important.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. I go to recording on Facebook. Where do I put my chat share screen? Here we go. I don't share my screen every day, Jeff, so that's not what we wanted. What did I do there? Stop that. Okay. Can you see that screen? No.
I just stopped it.
Okay. Share screen. Let's go back to it. It wasn't anything bad. It was I think this is where we want to go here. Okay, so this is what you're going to start to see. Is you're going to see the dashboard of LinkedIn Recruiter. Okay. And let me give a brief explanation for everybody on the call of what LinkedIn Recruiter is, so you understand what it is, what it does, how it works, and how recruiters use it. And I'm going to go through a demonstration and give you a little bit of insight. And you're going to see candidates. I only encourage you to just keep this confidential, because I'm going to go outside of market and we won't look at anybody in Dallas, but we'll go to another city and see if we can help you better understand how recruiters look at these profiles and what's a really good profile and how you can improve your profile. But let's go back and start with the foundation. LinkedIn, a number of years ago, developed this product called LinkedIn Recruiter. So what they did is, for the last number of years, they have built this huge database and attracted you as candidates to come join their network as a way for you to get to know other people and network and build your network and build community within, a job search, or it might be in community for, expertise for a category you're trying to learn, or whatever it might be. And they were, as we all know, very early adopters into what is now, we know, this vast social media. But it's really business related. So one of the things I coach candidates to do is to make sure that in your LinkedIn profile as a candidate, and if you haven't done this already, take note. We'll talk about it if you want to. But in your LinkedIn profile, in the summary section, I want you to put your email address and your phone number. And I'll tell you why in a little bit, but that makes it much easier for recruiters to reach you. And it's a real differentiator for you as a candidate in differentiating against other candidates, because you will be more easily and readily reached. Okay. So they developed this product called LinkedIn Recruiter, and it sits on top of the LinkedIn. Okay. So you've got this millions of people that are subscribers to LinkedIn, and that is the core. And then you've got LinkedIn Recruiter. It's a separate box, and it's got a set of APIs that dive into that vast network. So the thing you need to know as a candidate is that when a recruiter looks at your background, your profile, and we are looking at you through the product of the recruiter that you're seeing here, Recruiter Advanced Search, you as a candidate cannot see me. I don't show up anywhere, okay? I'm not anywhere where you've, in the box where you looked at see who's viewed me recently, and you might see a recruiter, but you don't have a name. I'm not there at all. I'm invisible, okay? The recruiter that shows up, it says recruiter, but you don't know the name and who it really was, they're still using a product that's called just is LinkedIn. They're not using the advanced and the paid for version. And the reason is that the day LinkedIn changes that and they allow you as candidates to see me checking your profile every day, they'll probably be out of business, because I have a tendency when I'm doing a search, I can look at 50 to 100 profiles every hour. And if I dedicate 4 or 5 hours a day to doing that search, you can see how many people I'm looking at. If every one of those people saw that I looked at their profile and decided to call me, because my number is there, and to say, hey, I saw you looked at my profile, what's going on? I'd never get my job done. Okay. So you'll never be able to see me as a recruiter looking at your profile. The other thing is I have 100% access to the network. So I may not be connected to everybody, but I've got a pretty vast network myself. And so I have visibility into everybody out there. They fall into one category, either first, second, or third connected. But out of the ever how many millions of people are using LinkedIn, there's generally nobody that I can't see. Now, the trick is will I be able to find you because you just don't have a very robust profile? And will you show up in my searches based on the search criteria that I'm putting in? But if you don't show up, and I've looked at maybe 500 people in a city for a specific job, and you're not showing up in that 500, then you need to really work on your profile. Or you don't really have the profile of what I'm looking for, because I'm specifically looking for keywords that you either have or don't have in your background. Okay. Is this helpful, Jeff? Are we on target?
Yes. Yep. Perfect.
I asked Jeff, y'all, not because I'm looking for his, great job. Yeah, keep going. But he hears these presentations all the time, and he's a real good moderator, and to say, go back, talk more about that than this. So I want everybody to get the most out of this as we possibly can today. Thanks, Jeff. So now let's go in and let's just start looking for people that might be a fit for a role that I'm trying to fill. Okay.
Well, I tell you what, if you would, please talk about the very first one on the very first spotlight.
Right here, spotlights.
More likely to respond. I think that's extremely important. So there's 2 numbers that just popped up there. On the very top, you see there's 790 million people that Kirk can reach out to.
Okay, pretty big number. So out of that 790 million, 62 million of them have identified that they're open to work. They have gone in and they have selectively said that they are open to work. Now you can do that in 2 ways. You can go in there and you can tell everybody in your network, whether they are using LinkedIn Recruiter or not, that you're open to work. And they put a green, I call it a green wreath around your head or your picture, or you can do a little bit more, less intrusive, and you can tell recruiters that you're open to work. And that is a signal that we look at when and it's a tool that we can use to select and try to identify candidates that we want to talk to. So as I continue down, open to work, 62 million have said that they're open to work, are more likely to reply, 63 million. These are the people that LinkedIn tracks you as a candidate, and they track you in every reply that you send back to people. If you don't send replies back, even if it's just thanks, I'm not interested. Hey, that's a great idea. Let me share it with my network. I'm not interested right now. Bad timing. You don't have to send them a biography about your background, but if you neglect because for one reason or another, you don't want to communicate with those people, you're going to be in a box that we as recruiters look at that says you're less likely to reply. And when I am moving through looking at 400 or 500 candidates in an hour, I might send you a note if you're less likely to reply, but you're not going to go onto my worksheet. You're not going to go into my database that I want to maintain. I want to continue to follow you and learn about where you're at. And I want to continue to try to engage with you. Engage with my brand. These are people that have either applied for jobs or they're following me. They're engaged with my brand. Have company connections some way or another. They're connected to my organization through people that I've placed or they're connected to me. And then past applicants, only 12,000 people. So this gives you a little bit of a snapshot in the importance of checking that box that says that you're open to work, and then highly recommending that you reply to every message with some kind of reply other than just thanks. If you can give them a sentence or two, that's best. But this is a really important piece of the program. Okay.
Perfect.
So let's keep it pretty generic and let's just look for a vice president of sales. Okay. And you can see that there's all kinds of titles that I can select because not everybody just has a title of vice president of sales. So I have the ability to go in and go head of business development, chief marketing officer. That's not what we're looking for. Vice president, national sales, senior vice president of head of strategy, commercial sales. Let's go just there. Now, so I've checked a bunch of titles that I'd be interested in. I've said that I don't care if they're current or past, or I can say ask for just people that have those current titles or past, but not current or just past. Okay. And I'm going to go in and it's already highlighted. I don't know why Philadelphia showed up. I'm not working in Philadelphia, but let's just go to Philadelphia. If you've not been to Philadelphia in a while, I encourage you to go. It's a beautiful little city. There's a lot of history in the town, and there's some amazing food. I'm not going to do, so other things that I can go through is I can select workplaces of places that they've worked. I can look at skills. So if I'm looking for somebody that is a salesperson in software versus consumer packaged goods or another category, this is where I can put it in. If I've got specific companies that I want to really look at. So as a retained search executive, one of the things I talk to companies about is, what are the ideal companies? Who are your biggest competitors? You can't go recruit out of your competitors, but I can. So who are some of the companies that you most admire? I remember a number of years ago, I was working with Mission Foods, and they had part of their whole corporate strategy was that they watched and really paid attention to companies and brands like Kellogg's, Hershey's. I'm trying to think. There was a couple that were out of category, and they liked the people, they liked the innovation, they liked their aggressiveness, they liked a lot of things about it. So I asked CEOs or executives that I'm working for, what are the companies that your top performers come out of? If you've conducted searches in the last year and you find that people that are coming out of Frito-Lay right now are the best they've ever had. They're the best candidates. Then let's dig into one of those companies and see if we can find some great talent. If we're looking regionally, we might put in universities that people have graduated from, because although we're conducting a search in Philadelphia, it might give me candidates that live in other parts of the country, but would like to get back to their university. They'd like to get back to that hometown. Maybe they have family in that market. They went to school there because they went to high school there. I don't know. It's a connection and you can't leave it out. I have the ability to go in and put in graduation. People don't like this, but this is the age thing where I can see and put in, you know, if you graduate from college between these times, okay? So that's a tool that we can use as a recruiter. I can look at different industries and I can build a Boolean of search words. So in my learning about the organization, if there are 6 key words that I'm looking for, I'm working on a data architect, senior manager of information technology, and I mentioned earlier. And so I was looking for somebody that's got architect experience. They've got cloud experience, business intelligence, data architecture. Those are all key words that you'd use for an IT search. So I may build a Boolean search and put that string in there to see if I can find some candidates that I haven't found before. I can put in network relationships. Out of these numbers, you can see that 7 of them I'm first connected to. Second connection's 1,500. 5,000 people is a lot of people to look at. You're going to see in a minute. But what we're going to do first is we're going to hit go. And we're going to search, because I just want you to see the magnitude of this thing. My internet connection's a little slow. So here we go. Okay. So Gretchen is the first person that pops up. I can't tell you why. She's not even first connected to me. Okay. But based on the Boolean of what I've already listed, for some reason, Gretchen comes up first. Now let's look at Gretchen's background. Now, and Jeff, let's stop there. Have you ever been able to get any G2? Terry would be the one to know probably better than anybody of why Gretchen's coming up first versus somebody that's coming up on the 5th page.
No, it's nobody knows that. That's a big secret.
Okay. I thought so, but I didn't want to just brush it under the carpet. Okay. So here she's got in her summary, she's got no summary. Okay. She says she's maybe open to changing jobs. Okay. But that's just, you know, it's a small indication. There are 9 people that are connected to me that are connected to her. So if she was of significant interest, I could go in here really quickly and see if there's one of these people that I might be able to call and say, hey, I'm trying to reach Gretchen today, not next week. Are you connected with her well enough that you could send her a note and ask her to call me? Now, many times some of these people are connected to people like I am. I'm connected to 5,000 people. So I don't know everybody, but if I'm connected to you and somebody asks for an introduction, I'll make the introduction because I don't know where it's going to take you or them. They don't have to reply. I'm just asking them to, and generally they do. And sometimes it even leads to new jobs for people. So we continue down here. We can see what she's done. She was the head of business development, knowable. She's only been there for 1 year and 9 months. She was a member of Revenue Collective. I don't really know what all these are, but I'm really interested in this Axiom. So I can go there. It takes me to their page. It'll give me a little bit more information about who they are. They're a global leader in special on-demand legal talent. She's a recruiter, it sounds like. Okay. Tells more about the company. 2 people from my school work there. There's 1,600 employees. So it's a pretty big size organization. Okay. A little bit more about their organization and so forth. So now I've got a little bit of insight about what they do and why I might want to reach to reach her. Close that. Okay, so we're back to this page again. I can see where she went to school. She went to Cornell, business law certificate 2020. So she just got that. If I want to know when she graduated in 96. Not everybody gives us that information. Some of that's important. It's not mandatory. I don't generally go this deep because if I'm just starting to search for somebody, I want to cast a pretty big net. So my next opportunity is now, as I said before, you haven't given me your information, contact information in your summary. So I only have one option. I'm not connected to Gretchen. So the only option I've got is to go in here and push this button and then send her a template. So if it was one of these jobs that I have open, I can go, I've got a template built. I change Monica to Gretchen and I send a note out and it's boom, it's in her box. Okay. Really quick, happens so easy. I can send out probably in an hour, I can send out 30 notes to people. And if I do it for 4 or 5 hours, you can see how the numbers multiply. And my searches just get better and better and better as I see more and more people. Now I have the ability, this LinkedIn Recruiter acts as a small applicant tracking system. So I have the ability to save Gretchen to a project so that as I continue to build that project platform out and put more candidates into it, I have the ability to go in, and it might be a month from now that I go back in and I look at candidates and I have the ability to see what I sent them, when I sent them. If I want to send a blank note out to a bunch of people in that job, again, I can very easily. So it gives me a lot of automation that makes my job as a recruiter much, much easier. I'm going to stop there. Any other questions from the group?
Not, let's see here. There was one. Yeah, with all, Dion says, with all those numbers, is it okay to ask how many candidates are interviewing for a specific role?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I'm very transparent when I'm talking to candidates about a new opportunity. And so if I've presented 4 candidates, I'll let each one of them know I've presented 4 candidates. I'm waiting to hear back feedback from the client. I generally don't give rank order to candidates because that's not my rank order. It's the company's. And it really, it doesn't always fall, it doesn't follow the trend. So, but absolutely, as you're talking to a recruiter, how many candidates have you looked at? What are you finding in your talent pool? What are the skill set that you're really trying to find that you haven't been able to find? Or even more importantly, the question that I love to ask is, what's the biggest problem you're trying to solve? And when you can get a recruiter or a hiring manager to give you that information, that's how you can really start to customize your approach to communicating with that client or that new opportunity.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think Gretchen has got an okay, but I don't think that it's the end all be all. Let's see if we can just scroll down and find some other, we're not necessarily, we haven't honed in on a particular category. So Gretchen was much more of a recruiter kind of person. Here we're looking at somebody that's a sales leader in education. Education tech is what ED tech stands for. If you're in those industries like fintech that uses those acronyms, then make sure that they're in your profile. He's done publishing, research sectors. He's a digital content guy. He's got data analytics experience, and he's information services. He gives me where he went to school. Now let's look at this summary. Okay, a lot more data in the summary, a lot more keywords. When you're starting to build out your LinkedIn profile, one of the things that Terry Sullivan will teach you and everybody else that has anything to do with LinkedIn is the importance of keywords. And what we want you to do is make a list of keywords. If I was looking for you on LinkedIn, what would be the keywords that I would use in order to try to find you? Okay. What are those key words other than just your job title? But maybe it's the data analytics. Maybe it's route supervision. Maybe it's route settlement. Maybe it's data analytics. Maybe it's a software that you've used in the past that is different than a lot of other organization. There's one out there. It escapes me. I want to call it Grand Prairie, but it's there's an accounting software that a lot of organizations use, but it's very difficult to navigate.
Oh,
So if
Great
you've got,
Plains.
right,
Great Plains.
yep. So if you've got experience in those, this is where you need to put it, okay, is in your summary. You can load it in each one of your jobs, but that's what this summary section is for, okay? You can see that he's open to work, and I've got 3 connections, but he hasn't given me his contact information, okay? So if I want to reach him, I'll scroll through here to see if he dropped it in somewhere else, because sometimes they do that. But I'm not seeing anywhere, and I'm scrolling quick, but I'm not seeing anywhere where he's given me his contact information that I can then grab and go talk to somebody, okay? Or talk to him. So really important that if you're even down here in the personal information, I can move this up. Yep. So all that is all he's got here is his LinkedIn profile. That's not going to get me any further than I'm already at. Okay. So again, I like Brian. I think that he is through September 21. So he could have just lost his job, but I might have success in trying to find this company in Farmington Hills. So I could take the name of this company and I could go to Farmington Hills and see if I could find through Google the company and see if I could call and see if I could reach Brian if I really wanted to. But if he's left that organization, the company's not going to generally give me his data. But other than that, the only option I've got at this point is to send him an email. Okay. Trying to find something that's just got a really robust background. Okay. More summary, but nobody put in your, you wouldn't believe it, but I tell everybody, and I have been telling everybody for a long time, to put your contact information in your LinkedIn profile. And very, very few people do it. Very few people do it. So you can't imagine to a recruiter, when I see somebody's contact information in their summary section and I can reach out and call them directly, it is game changer immediately. But let's talk about robust summaries. These are still very good summaries. She's done a lot of great work to use the keywords. If I were to go back and put keywords in, what would happen is it would highlight, if I was looking for somebody that had sustainable business growth, it would highlight in her summary that Rosemary has got experience in sustainable business growth, okay? But she's given me a lot of other information within each of her jobs. She didn't do as good a job here under O'Neill and at McGraw, but she has given me some idea of some of the things that she's done, working for 20 million square feet of assets, ground up development, marketing launch of 10 multifamily condos. She's a business. She's in the, she was in the real estate business to some business development is what O'Neill Properties does. So again, you can see how quickly I move through these things. I can scroll this way, or I can go to somebody's profile, and then I can just scroll this way, meaning that I don't have to go back to the beginning, and I can just look at the next one and look at the next one and look at the next one. So, and then anytime I want to, I can go back and I can go in and modify my search in any way that I want to. That will help me get to a more targeted background. So an example there might be that here's where I go in and look at, let's go Spotlight. Let's go to, I just want to look at people that are open to work. That just took the number from 7,400 down to 1,000. My number's getting a lot more manageable at this point. Okay, now we're down to 1,000 people. And now let's just go in and say that I want people that are in the, pick the biggest one I can find here, consumer packages. And let's go to food and beverage. Two categories I know pretty well. And now we went from 74 to 1,000, now down to 65 people, okay? And I can manage 65 people. And if I'm really interested in these people, they go into my master spreadsheet and I will go find these people either through these connections or by calling the company directly, and by sending you an email, sending an in-mail to that person, okay? So some key takeaways here, Jeff, are that this is a very robust product, and the things that candidates can do to get them ready so that they are going to be more searchable on LinkedIn are going to be to take this LinkedIn product very serious and to make sure that their profile is the most robust it possibly can. And they take advantage of every word and every space that they have available. So Jeff has got a fact sheet that people can access. I don't have the numbers memorized, but as an example, you can have 5,000 characters in your summary.
I think it's 2,200, 2,000 or 2,200. Yeah.
2,200. So, that's a good number to know. You can copy and paste really easy in LinkedIn. So you can write it in Word. You can track the number of characters or the number of words. You can modify it anytime you want to. I tell a story that when I graduated from college, my father owned a printing company, and he was so excited about the fact that he could set he could not letterpress, but he could typeset my resume. It was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was like a wedding invitation. But once we printed it, we couldn't go in and change it the next day. So you can do that today. So make sure that as you sit in a meeting and somebody throws out a new title or a new acronym for a word that fits your profile, make sure you go back to LinkedIn and throw it in there, because recruiters are always looking for differentiators, and we're always looking for ways to get to that type as quickly as we possibly can. I can't look at 1,000 candidates, guys. I'd be kidding you if I thought that I could do that in even a week. And every time I hit refresh, I'd get another set of 1,000 people. I'd be going in circles. So a set of manageable candidates is somewhere between 200 and 500 people. And I'm going to continue to do that and refresh it until I find the keywords and the people that are best fit for the kind of role that I'm trying to fill.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing for everybody who's been watching. And, I've been scanning as he scans down different people. Not one person on that I saw today had a phone number or an email address in there.
Right.
And, I know Kurt's if he sees a phone number, he's going to pick up the phone right away and call that person.
Oh.
So make sure if you're open to work and you're looking for a job, please put your phone number and email address and your contact information and your summary statement. If you put in your contact information, it actually shows up right there on the screen that he's actually scanning as he goes down. So very, 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 very important.
Yep.
I mean, nobody there who's open to work. They have open to work, but I don't see a phone number or an email address from anybody.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Now it'd be interesting to know if you went and did the search here in the DFW area, if you would find a lot more phone numbers, only because there's so many career groups in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we're talking about it all the time. You don't change it because we don't want to, pop anybody's names up, but it would always be very interesting if it was only Dallas, just to sort of see.
So let's go to, we may or may not. Here's a long list of work that he's done, okay? Expertise, and these are all key words. This is amazing, okay? The only thing this guy's missing right now is I would love to talk to him about a role. Here it is. He's given me his right at the top. Okay, see it? That's a game changer. For me as a recruiter, I don't even go to this button to send him a message. I literally go here, I send him an email, and then I call him immediately. If I get his voicemail, I text him. So I've given him 3 communications in 30 seconds, and I didn't have the ability to do that with, let's go up here and just compare Brittany. See, I have nothing for Brittany. She has all the qualifications. I love what she's done, but head over heels, I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to have a conversation in the next couple hours with Steve.
So the one big takeaway is put your contact information in there, have lots of keywords in there. There was a, see here, I had a question. Natasha asked, can recruiters see my also view page? I know that if you're just using basic LinkedIn, one of the options is people also view.
Yep.
Now, I think that's only if you
similar profiles is what we call it here.
Right. But here in your case, similar profiles, that's because you're looking into LinkedIn from above LinkedIn. You're hovering over.
That's
you
right.
Get to see all the data. And so LinkedIn is pushing out these other people that they think would be worth you looking at.
That's correct. Yep.
Let's see here. Was there another question? I did put in the chat window for everybody the 2021 LinkedIn character counts. It's a Word document. So hopefully you can download it and you can use it to maximize the word count. But, you know, I think what Kurt's talked about, phone number, up here's a phone number. Yeah, Steve's got his phone number right there, email address, makes it easy for recruiters to reach out to people.
Yep. Jeff, I'm going to back off early here just a minute because I've got a client call at 2 o'clock. I've got to get on another Zoom call.
All right, well, great. Well, we'll stop here. So Kurt, thank you very much for your time. I do want to I'll show just a couple more things here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you very much for your time. So want to thank Kurt very much for his time today. Next week, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. So Locke is a career consultant. He's a recruiter. He's been doing this for years and years and years, and he's going to show us what you need to do so that Kurt can find you easily. And he'll talk about all the key things that Kurt talked about today. All right, I need everybody, if you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I connect. Send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Always, always, always send a personal note whenever you connect. I get people who want to connect with me every day. There's no note. I don't know why we should connect. I don't know how they found me. Send a personal note whenever you do it. The key to that is look for the blue button. If you see a blue connect button, you can always send a personal note. If you see a white connect button, usually the generic invitation will go out. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us tomorrow. We'll be on session number 10 for interviewing Wednesdays, how to build rapport, how to establish chemistry with the interviewer. This is really, really important as you're interviewing. You've got to build rapport, because if the interviewer doesn't like you, boom, you're done. And we're not talking about qualifications. We're talking about likability here, how to establish that chemistry. On Thursday, it's the first Thursday of the month, so we'll be talking about resumes, the first and third Thursdays. what recruiters look for in resumes, and that will also be with Locke Alderson. So you'll see Locke a week from Tuesday, and then this Thursday he'll be talking about what recruiters look for, what he looks for when he's looking at a resume. So join us this Thursday for that session. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, a very important meeting. We're going to talk about accountability groups, the who, what, when, where, and why of accountability groups. Who should be in a group? What should the group talk about? When should they meet? Where should they meet? Why should you even have an accountability group? This is a great way to get your job search going, to really make it something a little bit more than what it has been. So please join us this Friday morning at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, Friday morning at 9:30. Please, you're welcome to join the Career USA LinkedIn groups. We have a Career DFW LinkedIn group, a Career USA LinkedIn group. You don't have to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. Both groups are open to everyone. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page to go back and watch. It'll also be available on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, the easiest place to find these videos, click on playlist. And then at the very bottom where you see the red arrow, click on view full playlist. Don't click on the video, but click where it says view full playlist. And then up will come a list of all the different titles and topics that we've talked about, with the most current one on top. If the most current one's not on top, click on the little sort button to get to the very, very top. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, if you're new and you found us either on Facebook or you found us just by going to the Career DFW, Career USA websites, we do have a mailing list that you can join. Send an email to careerusa+subscribe@groups.io. You will not be spammed, but what you will get is a daily email with the title of the day, the topic of the day, and the Zoom link of the day. That way you can just open that email up and there will be the Zoom link for you to join us every day. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kurt's a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. We've got no full or part-time employees. Everything I've done over the last 13, 14 years has been as a volunteer. So Career DFW, we survive on donations. Please consider making one when you land your next job. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday or Friday.